please, Edward.
I can give you one. There's one by Alvin Toffler, who said the illiterates of the 21st century shall not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn and learn and relearn. So
Awesome.
the illiterates of the 21st century shall not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn and relearn.
I like that one. I like that, and I also like the one from Catherine. Catherine has said, if you want to go faster, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. That's an African proverb. Better done than said. That's by Masaba Mildred. Is that a quote or a mantra for you? Masaba, where are you? I also don't see a lot of us. Can I see all of us?
Purity, it's not Masaba, but Mnazaba.
I keep missing the name.
Just us.
No, it's not Masaba. You said it is what?
It's Masaba, but it's written with a double M. So most people find it, yeah, like just as it's finding it hard to just pronounce it as Masaba.
Oh, okay. Are you able to hear us, Masaba?
Yes, I can hear you well.
How are you? So what you've sent us, let me see. Better done than said. Is it a quote or a mantra for you?
It's a quote for me.
It's a quote. Then whom are you quoting? Who said that?
Myself.
Awesome. I like that. Okay. Edward again says, the illiterate of the 21st century shall not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn and relearn. Albert for home. Felix also has given us another one. If you want to invest well, invest in people. If you want to maximize on the investment, invest in young people. I agree with that totally. Carol Kamau says, what God has made us is his gift to us. What we do with what God has given us is our gift to him. I really like that one, by Carol Fiorina, our CEO for HP. Shadrach says, I live with others to be helped, but to help and to help as we move forward together. Hey, Catherine, you've given us another one. Let me see. People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Maya Angelou. I totally agree with that. No one is perfect. That's why pencils have erasers. I really like that one. By Grace. Let me see. If you want to see far, stand on the shoulders of giants. I like that one. That one almost looks like mentorship or a coaching kind of quote by, let me see who has given us that one. Onesmus, what was your thought on this particular quote? Onesmus,
oh, one.
Yes.
Here I am. Oh, my name is not on. Okay. One, it tells me that I have to depend on others for my progress. And if I want to perfect my heart, I have to learn from others. And then number two, I should allow others to benefit from me so that they may go far. Something to do with mentorship and coaching. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I would want to link that one to coaching or mentorship. Tobias has given us, without gospel, I'm only projecting behavioral modification. Change of heart must triumph mere change of behavior. Dr. Eric Manson. Tobias, what is coming through your mind when you give us this morning?
As a preacher, I know that many a times we share with people, but it's only the gospel that can bring the changes. So you can find that I change my behavior, but then the true change of the heart can only take place when we interact with the gospel.
Awesome. Let me read from Carol Kamau. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. That's a Chinese saying. Dara, if you are never wrong doing the right thing. Totally, I agree with that. Let me read from Jacob. No one has a right to hear the gospel twice before everyone else has had it once. What? That is awesome. So you must make sure everyone has heard the gospel before you take it to them twice. Okay, I see time is now not on our side. If you think that education is expensive, try foolishness. Peter Munguti, humility is not weakness. Humility is strength harnessed by the love of Christ. I like that one as well. Catherine Wadome, in any given moment, we have two options: to step forward into growth or step backward into safety. I agree with that as well. By Abraham Maslow. Daisy, the last one, it always seems impossible until it is done, by Nelson Mandela. Daisy, what does that speak to you? Or why is it your quote this morning?
Many times we don't believe we could handle a task or do something until you get into it, you go through the hurdles of doing it and succeed, and then you realize, oh, so it was this easy, although it was not.
All right, I'll give you mine. Mine is by Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs, he's the late. He's the one who invented Apple and all that. So he says, I can only connect the dots moving forward, and you have to be ready to see the picture that the picture comes up with. Just give me a second. I read the exact quote. Okay. Oh, you cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect the dots looking backwards. So you have to trust the dots will somehow connect in your future. Why this quote is important to me is it gives me confidence. Even what I'm going through today, it's when I look back to it, it will make actual sense, because things might not be making sense in this moment. But when I look back, I believe at a future date, if I look back to this particular moment, it will make sense for me. So that is my life quote or my life mantra. A few others have come, but I don't think we have time to go through them. But those who have joined a bit late, we're answering what is on our screen, what is our life mantra or life quote that we live by. So I don't see, today I've not seen Mercy. So Catherine, but I know Catherine is on the call.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hi, Catherine.
Hi.
How are you?
Yeah, thank you. I'm fine, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, and thanks for the previous sessions. On Monday, I was on the call, but just listening in because behind driving, so I couldn't participate as much. But I at least I managed to listen to most of it. No, not all, but at least I listened to quite a. And yes, I can. It was really a very engaging session.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we are also looking forward to today. I want to try. Yes, I can see the numbers are good. We logged in quite a number. Yeah, so I believe all of us are looking forward. And interesting enough, days are moving so fast. I was discovering this morning that we only have, this is the second last session.
Imagine.
It looked, when I was thinking it is a whole 2 weeks, it looked like it was a very long enough, we are almost the close of it. But yes, I think we're looking forward to today, and thank you for the past, and thank you also for the notes we received yesterday.
Yeah.
To be able to share with the rest of the team.
Awesome.
All right, so welcome. I think you can, I want to see whether Roy, are you able to hear me? I would wish that you pray for us this morning.
Yes.
Karibu, how are you doing?
We are doing well at Taveta.
Yes.
My family is doing well.
That is great.
Okay,
so
let
you
us
can
pray.
open us in prayer this morning. Thank you.
Almighty Father, thank you for your blessings this day. Thank you because you have waken us up with good health. As we go through this training, we ask for your guidance. Send your Holy Spirit that you may guide us to the glory of your name. In Jesus' name I pray.
Amen.
Amen. Okay, over to you, Purity.
Thank you so much, Catherine, and also thank you so much for Tariwoy for the word of prayer. I think we'll start from there. Nancy is a trainer with us here at Accurex. She brings over 20 years of experience. So I believe like you're in safe hands this morning as we tackle the topic of managing change in a dynamic work environment. And I had said on Monday, we are going through unprecedented times. Once you change, then you are almost forced again to change again, then you change again. So how do we handle all these changes that are coming through our way? So Nancy, the floor is yours. This is the team from our BTL. Their main offices are based here in Riru, but they are scattered all over the country. So I hope you enjoy interacting with them this morning. Let's see how this goes.
Thank you, Purity, and thank you, and good morning. Be at BTL. Bible translation is
Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah.
Morning.
Happy to be here with you for the first time, and thank you for the time you've given me to come and just share what I have from what you requested. Purity, thank you very much for the introduction. Let me just give it briefly for them to understand me more.
Yes.
Yes, I've been in different industries for the last 20 years. I have been in sales and marketing. I have been in a supply chain, and I've been involved in many of the items that you have been asked to talk about in change. It's one of my passions because I believe, like others, that change is the only thing that does not change. Yeah. And I know you're here because you're experiencing some changes, maybe that you have not gone through, or you want to just get better in your change behaviors. So I'll be here with you for 2 hours, and I'm going to be a very interactive. I don't lecture very much. Okay, I also lecture at the university, but I want to lecture, I want to give you a time to just interact with me. I'll be asking some questions, we'll have some group work. So let's learn and have fun and just learn from each other. And if I ask a question, please talk back to me. You know, in virtual learning, we are trying to be interactive. It's a bit difficult to see what's on the other side, to see the 30 people I'm teaching. So I'm asking for your cooperation, interaction, and let's enjoy ourselves. Sawa.
Yes.
Learning is okay. So I was asked to talk about managing change in a dynamic environment. And I asked myself, okay, why did BTL ask for this topic? Because BTL, we know, you know, there's a Bible, there's a gospel, and there's a people there, and they're hungry for the word. So there must be something in the back of their minds that they asked this topic for. Okay, so let's just start briefly and say, somebody once said, Max Dupree, we cannot become what we want by remaining what we are. Do you agree? You are sharing mantras this morning and sharing what you believe. Any thoughts on this very, very heavy quote about change? Anybody? We cannot become what we want by remaining what we are. It's about change. Everybody's quiet.
Okay, let me see. Can I pick
so anyone? If you want to become somebody else, anybody, yeah. But I'd hope to be having people who are interactive and want to talk about it.
Can I?
Yes.
Edward.
Can I? Yes, I think. Yes, I'm Gilo Edward. I think this quote is talking about if you want to make your life better or to live a better life, don't maintain the status quo. You have to do something. In other words, it calls for some action. Don't remain where you are, do something.
And the change comes from who? Who makes a change?
From inner self.
Yes, exactly. Nobody else will make it for you. It's about your own initiative. So you want to achieve something, you must be the one to take that step and change it. But change is something we know is very uncomfortable. People don't like change, but they have to change because of particular areas, issues in the environment that make them change. Now look at that slide and those pictures and tell me what you see. Anybody, or as many as possible. What are you seeing there? What is going on? Is it a
wildebeest migration?
The what?
The wildebeest migration.
Yes, okay. Now, just briefly tell us about it and what they are doing and why they do it. Just to make us understand. You've been there to watch it, I believe. Is it Jill who spoke or who spoke about that? Who's?
It is Ruben.
Ruben, give us a brief about this migration. Just a recap.
Well, it's something that happens I think once a year for a period of time, and the wildebeest, of course, walk in big numbers, and mostly it's because of it's seasonal, because it happens at a particular time of the year. And I think it's most likely because of pasture, looking for pasture, I think. Yeah.
Great. Have you ever gone to witness it on site, Ruben, or anybody?
No.
No. For me, it's one of the things I want to do before I depart, one of my bucket lists, but it's a wonder of the world, the Mara migration. And you're right. So these animals, this wildlife, something has caused them to shift from one side of the Mara to the other side. So there's something happening in the environment. And as you rightly said, it's about pasture. So they have seen between the month of, is it June to September, when it takes place, that's when it's very, very dry on the Mara side or the Kenyan side. So they cross over the Mara River to the Serengeti side because of pasture. So we can say here it's about survival, yeah? So they have to change from where they are or shift from their comfort zone across the river. If you look closely at the river, what is at the river? What is there as they cross? Is it fun and nice to just cross over? Is it easy for them?
No.
What is there?
Hardship. There are crocodiles. Crocodiles are eating them.
It is infested by risks. Yeah, it's not a very, very easy, fun thing to do, just crossing over. But the risks are there. But you know what they say? For us to survive the next season, we either die on this side or take a risk and walk across and jump over those crocs. If I survive, thank you, Lord. If not, I will. Others will do it. So they cross over because they want pasture. So change, as I was saying earlier, is very uncomfortable. We don't like changing. Changing, any big or small change, will make us feel uncomfortable. But you have to change and make a step and say, if I stay on this side, I will not survive. As a person or a business, it will collapse. There's a better place. Animals, look at them. They get very organized, yeah? So they come together as a herd, and then they have the leaders who go ahead of them to cut the ground, to start the motion. Somebody must say, I'll be the one to start this motion, and you guys follow me on this trail, and let's go. And they do it continuously. There are some who survive, some die, and they go across and they find some good pasture. And that is change. Even animals, wildlife, they must change. So change is inevitable, all right? But this change must be managed. You have to, for you to be successful, for you to shift to go to there where you want to be, that lovely pasture, that lovely place you want to be, you must manage it well. Animals do, they have leaders, they come together in daylight, they move, at night they come together again. So they plan this change in a very organized manner for them to be able to shift across there. And that's why we have come here to learn about change management, right? Yeah. So I'm sure in BTR, there's something going on that you want to manage called change. And we want to learn very briefly and practically on how we can manage this change. So I ask you for your indulgence. I think you'll get the notes from Purity. So let's just focus on what we're discussing in the short time we have. Now, change management can be discussed or described as the methods that a company outlines and implements in change within both its internal and external processes. So you have this change and you have your own company, you have internal processes you have put in place. So you want to use those to be able to help you to migrate and move across to the other change side. So it includes, number one, preparing people, the employees. Change cannot occur unless you involve people. It is people who manage these processes and systems. You can have the best machines, the best ICT machines, but it's people who will help initiate and make the change. Number two, establish the steps for change. What are we going to do? How are we going to carry this change you want to have? How are you going to get across this other place you want to go to? Number three, you want to monitor and see how you have come. How far have you come? Are we heading towards that direction? Just like the animals in the Mara, you know? Are we going the right direction? Are we crossing the river well? Have we crossed the Serengeti? Is there a pasture? So you want to do a post-evaluation and see, has our change succeeded? Because change is a big risk. We don't know how it's going to work based on what we are doing, but you want to ensure we're on the same track and we're getting there. It's a step-by-step process. So it's about managing the process and assuring success of that of the change agenda or the vision. Now, in change, we say there are two types of change in summary. There is one that's called unplanned change, or the one that's called reactive change. It is nothing you had seen earlier. It's something you're responding to. You know, it has happened abruptly. There was no anticipation. It can be various ways. It can be from a change of management, a change of leadership. Maybe you have a new owner or a new CEO, or a sudden change in the industry that you are in. Something has shifted in your industry. So here we are saying that change comes from the environment where you are. It could be internal, maybe about your procedures, your leadership, or something has happened, maybe sometimes disaster, but God forbid. And that's why you hear people are talking about we are putting off fires or we are firefighting. Something has appeared, has happened, and you're fighting fires. You're trying to manage that change in the best way possible, in the fastest way possible. That's the first one. Then number two, we have one we call proactive or planned change. This is where you anticipate a problem or you see something in the environment earlier and you start planning earlier previously before you end up in the trouble where you might have been. It's like how the animals in the Mara, they know between July and that other time that's coming, there'll be a drought on this side. Let's start planning how we're going to get across. Let's hunt together. Who is our leader? Who will go ahead of us? Okay. So at night they come together, you know, dark. In the morning, very early, they cut across. So they have a plan. So this plan is what you always want to have. You always want to plan and look at the environment and see what is going on in our industry, in our country, among our customers, you know. Is there a new market? Are there new entrants? Are there new needs that are coming up? How can we plan to align our processes and our business to be able to satisfy that need or be able to shift the way we work to be able to satisfy that particular change. So these are the two key types of changes. Depending on what you're going through, you can now plan. But the planning and the management of change of both is the same. The only thing here that's different about the reactive change, it may be a bit faster, it may be much faster, and it requires a bigger effort as compared to proactive change, because proactive change, you're doing it progressively and you have planned in advance and things are not as aggravating as earlier as the other change. Yeah, are we clear so far? Are we okay?
Yes.
Yes, we are good.
Yeah, so I will ask you, what kind of change do you think we are going through currently right now? Is it reactive change or proactive change? What kind of changes are mostly experienced at BTL? Let me start from there.
I think right now we are going through a reactive change as a result of COVID-19.
Okay.
Yes, but over time we have been going through proactive change in terms of things that are managed, things that are foreseen, where our management helps us think through a situation where we might not get foreign funding. How will we survive if it doesn't come? So we have been managing that and trying to come up with ways and methods of sustaining ourselves without getting any foreign support.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is you normally have planned changes throughout, but you have a reactive change that is called COVID, like everybody else is trying to change with it. That's true. So let's learn and see how you can manage these changes and what you can do, because they have to manage, because unless you move or make that change, BTL will not be in a very good place moving forward. Now let's look at the forces of change. Now, a change is not caused by something inside you. It's something that has happened that is occurring around your environment. So the triggers for change come from the environment where you are in, as a person, as a company, as a family, or a group. Just like in the Mara, in the wildlife, in the Mara wildebeest, it's about the environment where they're operating. There is pasture, there is drought, so they need to survive. So what do? You cross over. And for change, we have two types of environments we want to discuss here. And the first one, of course, is what you know as your farm or the company environment. That's your internal environment where you are, BTL. That comes from areas to do with your goals, your visions, your core values, your processes, your leadership, just who you are within your four walls as BTL. Things change, people change, leaders change. So it's about the first level of triggers of change is the first environment. It's called the farm environment. Secondly, we have the operating environment within the internal environment. It's about the next layer, yeah? From BTL, who do you deal with? You have your customers, you have your clients, you have the way they behave, you have the patterns at which they buy or how they deal with you. So a change can come from that other level or the next level called the operating environment. Then you have a second, and the most critical one is called the external environment. So as you go out beyond your walls, it gets more and more challenging because there are things you cannot control beyond there. Another level is called the sector or the industry environment. This is about your competition and how stiff it is, about buying power, suppliers' power, availability of services. So things that are beyond your customer, beyond behavior. It's about the change in market, in the labor market. Things that go beyond now you to the industry, depending on what industry you are. Then lastly, you have the external environment that is out beyond the global one. It's about the region where you're operating from, the country, the globe, and that becomes even more complex because you have not much control there. You must act depending on what is happening there. So in a short glance, it looks like that. The small circle is your farm environment. It is BTL, all you are, your processes, procedure, your technology. You can control that easily because it is what you know, and changes happen there easily and even every day. In departments, in the organization, in the structure, those you can always monitor and manage. And as you go outside operating environment, it's about your stakeholders. Who are they? Customers, And then industry and external is now where you lose more and more control. And the forces there are what are going to be keeping you changing. And you have to keep focusing on those two because most of the changes will come from there. So we say here as leaders, you must always keep a pulse or a finger and a very close eye on the industry and external environment. That's where most changes come from. And of course, internal, but you have to keep a very, very close eye and much closer to those environments. So, how do you monitor, or how do you understand what elements are going on in the environment to help you establish what change you need to make? And I'll show you a slide here. We call it the PESTEL in management and business. Know what you're, yeah, the PESTEL model. Just and what you know about it. In a short while. Hello?
Nancy, I had lost you for a bit, so I'm not so sure if everyone lost you or they could hear you.
Okay, somebody said they have seen the PESTEL model before, and I just asked her to maybe just give us a brief on what it is of understanding to bring us all to the same level.
Yes, I said that I've seen this, or I've seen this. Yeah, most of us who have been involved in just thinking through the strategic plan for the organization. Yes. These are some of the factors that we have looked at, looking at the political environment, which affects us. So, of course, the political environment in this case, in most cases, looking at Kenya. And then when you look at the E, it is the economic status of the country, looking at the issues I think you've outlined there, the economic growth, the exchange rates, and how that would affect us. So you're looking at the environment and looking internally, what would that speak to us and how do we need to respond in that case? And then looking at social. Yes. Yeah, so you're looking at what demographies, the age distribution, all these things, the population. Again, looking at that and looking at internally, how does that speak to us even as we organize ourselves, as we try to achieve our vision and our mission, the impact that would have. Looking at, like when we talk about even the social, looking at, let's say in the labor market, looking at the current generation, if we are looking at recruitment, what kind of people are getting into the market? And so how
is somebody else talking?
Yes, I'm trying to mute.
And then of course the technological environment, again, very key to see how technology impacts on what we do. As Bible translators, we are looking at what new technology is available and how do we embrace the technology, what things do we need to do. And then yes, the environment, the climatical changes, again, you have to plan for that. We work in regions across this country, some affected adversely by the climate, be it floods or droughts. Again, as we plan, how does that impact our work? And then the last one is the laws of the land, which we have to know and be open to them as part of the change that we have to embrace.
Thank you, Catherine. Very well done, very well outlined. I think you're very, very well versed on this model. Now, this model is a very, very quick glance of what changes can happen in the environment and what they are and how you can even easily square and say our change is being triggered by this element of the PESTEL. That's the first thing you must establish, just as you were saying for the strategic management. Now, if you look at the changes you're going through as BTL in the last few maybe years, what has triggered, what elements have been triggering your change? You can pick one change and just pick on what element of PESTEL has triggered it. Anybody?
I think for political, with the coming in of counties, it has made us think how to decentralize some of our work and see how to work with the county governments, especially where our projects are situated. do together with them as an organization.
Okay, that's political. Thank you.
I see Grace, her hand is up.
Yes, mine is on government policy. Since we have a number of education-based projects, and a few years ago, so we really had to change even the kind of materials we produce and make sure that those that had already been produced using the old curriculum have been changed to suit the new one.
That's on political again, you said? Policy?
Yes, government policy.
Government policy, okay. Thank you. Any other?
ILC 1. All right, let's continue, Nancy.
That's a pastel. So clearly here you can be able to square it and say which part of the element of the pastel is triggering my change. And ideally here you want to scan your environments very, very closely throughout because they change in a very short time. You make your plan, your strategies, and in the next 2-3 weeks, something else happens and you must react very quickly because the speed here is of the essence. Great. Now, so once you have identified the pastel element that had triggered the change, you must plan for the change. And to help us manage the change, we recommend that we use a model. We have some change models in management we try to use, and it's as simple as thinking about a map. It's a guide. It illustrates how you can move from that stage to the next stage in progressive and able to understand the elements that are helping you to change. And then looking back and seeing we have come this far, how are we doing? So it's like a roadmap. You're coming from Mara to Serengeti. This is where we are going to go through. This is what you're seeing as possible risks. This is how you're going to augment them. So it helps you navigate your change. Now I want to share a few of them that have been used in business and have done very well. They're very well acclaimed. There are over 10 models, but I want to just go through 6 of them, then we'll take one. We have the ADCA model, Lewin's field force, and Lewin's model. And then we have COTAP 8-step that was built up from Lewin's model, and so many others, those you can read by yourselves. So these are people who looked at change and found different ways and different steps, and they've been applied in business today, and they've been very successful, and they're easy to apply. So normally recommend that you pick the one that you feel suits your organization, your processes, your structure, and that can be understood by everybody around your organization. So for today, I'll just take you through the one that I prepared earlier. It's a simple one called the Lewin's field force model and the Lewin's 3-stage model. It's simple, it's easy to break down to any level. And it starts by this, the man who did this is called Kurt Lewin. Kurt Lewin is a psychologist in Germany in the 1940s. And he saw change as a 3-level model. And what he first said was that change or status quo, for you to change from where you are, the equilibrium, there has to be a force that drives change that is greater than the one that resists the change. So there you are as BTL, you're doing the same things you've done maybe for a long time. And there's somebody, because I said change is very, very uncomfortable. Nobody wants to change easily. So there are those change, but others are trying to force a change. And as long as these two forces remain equal, there is no change. But what you want to do, if you want to change, you have to have the force of change greater than resistance change. So something has to tip over and create a change. And then he found that change can be discussed in 3 elements, in 3 levels. The first level he called the unfreeze. Very, very simple words, unfreeze. So you have the old norms there, then you have the force against a change and for the change, and it tips over, and you want to unfreeze or bring out the old norms and decide to have a different movement that you want to call move, you want to change. And once you have changed to the other level you want to be at, then you refreeze. But there has to be a force that is beyond the force or resistance to create that change. So it looks something like that, simple 3 stages. Then the first stage, you want to create, there's a such a status quo. You want to tell people here, we are not a very good place. We need to change. We need to have a better place. You have to have them a vision that shows them that where we are is not good. We need to go to a different place, just like this. So create a lot of dissatisfaction and happiness. Disturb them and tell them you want to change, you have to move out. And then you create some benchmarks. From now, what we are doing, we want to do the following things that are better or more effective or more productive than what we are doing. You also have to look at the barriers. Look at resistance to change. Anticipate resistance. Anticipate people who will not be there with you. Anticipate the risks and see, these are risks that we're seeing so far, we are going to overcome them in this manner. So the first stage is trying to remove the old norms, and then stage 2 is where you now initiate the change or the move. It's called the moving stage. You're designing your structures, your organogram, responsibilities, the roles. If the new skills required, training, mentoring, you require to have more people to employ, to deploy, they all come here. So you make the change movement, you plan, you start level 1, 2, 3, you review, what have we done? And then once you're happy with what you have put in place, you can now call them refreeze, or you put them as the next status quo, the new norm. You align your structures, your controls. So step by step, the unfreezing stage is the most critical, because if you don't work well here, if this does not work very well, the change will not be very, very successful. It's about influencing and selling the urgency for change. Clearly, unless we move from here, we are going to shut down our business. Unless we change to this, we are going to lose our customers. And this must be given very, very clearly communicated to everybody with facts and figures where possible to convince and sell off the agenda for change that must be done quickly. Is it a merger? It's good for us because we have a merger. We have a partner who has a better skill in this industry we want to go to. Acquisition, are we selling off? What are we doing and why? So you must have a very, very strong, compelling vision here that you must sell off, that paints a very good picture of what you want to achieve. Because again, I said earlier, it's about the employees. They're the first people you need. You need to have them to buy this change, because they're the ones you're going to use or are going to help you to adapt the change. So communicating here is very, very clear, the objectives and why. And at this stage here, you want to be able to look and see who are the influencers, who are the first buy-ins. Because people are different in everything, and in change, you'll find there are those who are receptive much, much faster, who are buying in very, very early, and others are late. So those who are early buy-ins, you can keep them and use them as an influence to help others also to come on board. So unfreezing, you're trying to say we're not in a good place, let us change from here. Moving forward, you want to be in a better place, sell your vision very well, very compelling, and then you can start stage 2 that we call the moving or changing on the transforming stage. If you do well here, communicating the change vision, then here now you start planning. You can have your change team ready. Those that you want to help, you want to have a small core group team that will help you see the change through, because you can't all do the same. Who will organize the processes, the systems, the structure, appoint maybe a budget committee. What do you require as budgeting? What do you require as skills? What do you require as human capital numbers, you know? So they're the ones who will help you now model that change in terms of what you need to do. And also here, you want to look at the uncertainty of change. What is the level of uncertainty of change? Do you have fear, resistance? Again, communicate. So establish your change model, your process, and start with it step by step and keep reviewing. But in this stage here, you're shifting, you're heading out. You are now crossing the Mara, and you're facing some risks and you're averting them. And then thirdly, now, once you have come across, you establish your new behaviors, your new values, your new structure of working, your new policies. It's a culture, it's established, it's in writing. Again, here, you're still trying to reevaluate your reasons to change. You're trying to tell people going on forward and reassuring them that you're not doing very badly, encouraging, motivating. That's continuous, because they are people, they're human beings. And then this refreezing is when now you establish a new norm, The old has passed, now you have a new way of life, a new way of working, a new structure that is seeming to help you to come into your change vision. So Kurt Lewin found this very, very simple because it's not complicated. It's about letting go or unfreezing the old, starting with the change step by step. Depending on what change you're going through, the timing can be different. It can take a year, months, and depending on how you're able to sell this change agenda, then you have a good acceptance rate and you're moving well. And then the refreezing is where you want to see, how have we done? What can we move around and change over? What can we add? Where did we go wrong? Yeah, how can we augment that? So this has worked very, very well in most organizations in the world and has been adapted as the first selling model of change. And then there are others, of course, I'd said earlier, the Kotter's 8-step model that built up on the Kurt Lewin stage model. And so I'd like just to sell this to you and maybe try and see how it works for you. Are we together before I share an example? Is it clear? Any questions or concerns on Kurt Lewin's model?
Grace, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to say it's a bit clear, but I think the example will make it, will bring it closer home.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So let me just bring this down and see how it can work. And I want to use myself as an example of how I apply this model. I'm a training consultant for a long time with people like Purity, and we have been training for many, many years. Normally we call people to our meeting room, our hotel room. We come with our projectors, our laptops, we come with our icebreakers, we come with our materials, and we are interacting, we are talking, you know? It's easier to see people and have some more fun. And then end of last year, we had COVID hit, and that's, I think, where we all are. That's why BTL is here. And everything changed because training involves people, and people is contact. And that's the first thing that we want against COVID. We cannot come together, we cannot come face to face. So we had to think about how we are going to continue our businesses, because unless we change, we will close down, we'll stop training people. But we can't stop training, can we? Purity. We have to continue. So we had to unfreeze our old ways, yeah? Conference rooms and meeting rooms, or going to in-house. And I had to ask myself, what is it that I need to change? What has to go away? What model, what things must I unfreeze? The first thing was my training delivery method. Yeah? You must find a different way of training people, because if I don't do that, I'll close down. So I have to get my team together and tell them, this is what has happened. We cannot continue training the way we are training. You must start thinking of how we can train better. What are we going to do? So I have to sell the urgency for that change to them, communicate to them, either we do this or we close down. I have to bring a very nice vision for them to see that, you know, we need to create a way that we can train virtually, yeah, through different platforms. And if we do that, we'll keep our jobs, we'll keep our customers, we'll keep our business running, and we'll have a hope and a future to live on as consultants. So I got everyone together and we discussed that, we agreed, and they said, yeah, we have to change or they lose their jobs, okay? So let's try and learn how to do virtual training. Yeah, that's a plan we had. So unfreeze the physical one and start learning how to use virtual platforms. Stage 2 came. Now, who do I need here? I require my other partners like Purity and other companies to see how we can start doing these changes, how to do these virtual trainings, and what else can we use? Discussing what are the available platforms. There was Zoom, there was MS Teams, and so many others we discovered. Isn't it, Purity? We found so many others have been for a long time. Yeah, we never knew because we never thought about using them at all. So we had to learn and do some trials, some free webinars, yeah? And have a small team saying, let's try and do one training together, free to our clients on this particular topic and see how it works. I evaluate you and see how it works. And if it does well, it can be our platform to sell our trainings for, okay? So we learned, we practiced with each other, we tried, we learned, and then we thought that's the best way for now moving forward, because we can't stop training. Let's find our clients and tell them we have this new way of training, we can help you through it. We will do this number of hours per day. We'll do this. You can have group settings. You can have breakout rooms, and life continues. And then stage 3 came, refreezing, reinforcing this as this new way of work, the new way of life for us as consultants, trainers. We design packages again that you can train up to 50 people. And the best thing, we can train people in other branches, other countries. We have trained Rwanda, Uganda, and Kenya in one setup. Yeah. This is how we're going to price the trainings, how we shall structure our training sessions, 2 to 3 hours, how we'll do our group work. And that is it. This is where we are now. And so we have BTL and others doing the same thing. And that's our new normal. So for me, I'll say COVID has helped me come from the old ways that I was so happy doing. We're happy to go to Mombasa, to fly to Rwanda, to go to wherever. But look, from where we are now, we can train. So that is now how I use the model by Lewins, and others also do it in different ways. And I have seen that the new normal is what it is now. We can now design new models, short models, longer ones, break into a week, into a season, and adapt. And then review, how have we done? Is 2 hours too long? Can we do a break? Can you do some take-home work? So we are still learning as we go on, but this is how we have now refrozen our consulting and our training assignments. I hope it's clear now. It's getting clearer. Yes? Anybody? It is.
Yes. Yeah, it's coming out clear now.
Do you think this can work for BTL in not just in this change you're going through, but moving forward and looking at what you have had before? Anybody?
Cyrus.
Maybe before, maybe the question is, was this a reactive or proactive?
This was a reactive change. I had not foreseen COVID ever, but I stopped training people. Yeah, it was a reactive. Now, proactively, I can say I can use the same one for my different programs and say, I've been training in maybe HR and customer surveys, but there is more need for, in the market, for a change management consulting that I can try and bring in, or even for different groups. You can unfreeze the way you do for different groups, different structures, yeah? And change and even update your program, like my programs rather. Update my programs, make them richer. So this model, you can use it for proactive and even reactive. It's used for all. And depending on what level you're looking at of change or what the depth of the change structure, it can take 1 year, a shorter time, but this has been seen to be one easy way of just showing and leading people to the right place. Yeah. Okay, so let's see how we can apply it in our, yes, any question? Somebody else?
Yeah, I think somebody has pointed out that it may be much easier when it is reactive, because this is something that everybody can see, and you find also that from your side and from the client perspective, both of you see and appreciate the change that has taken place. I think it is more difficult, like for example, if you are the one who is seeing COVID in quotes, and now you're trying to convince others that we need to change. You see, that becomes even more difficult when it is it's a change that is perceived. It's something that making it clear, telling people, you know, the industry has changed. This is what people need, and the kind of methods you use to assess the change in the environment or something like that, it becomes more difficult. And that's where now you find a lot of resistance, because many people may not appreciate the kind of changes that are there. So I think it's more difficult when it is changes that are not so obvious. They are not, it's not demanding a reactive thing. It's something that you think you can be better if you change. You see something like that, you can make more profits, you can reach more people, you can become more effective in your area. So if you are trying to unfreeze that, then you would find a lot of people who are used to how it is always done, and they think this is how it has always worked, and they wonder how this other new method work or something like that, I think.
Awesome.
Thank you for that input. In any change, reactive or not, or proactive, there'll be people who resist the change. It is normal. So this has to be dealt through at every stage. It will be at the refreezing end stage, at the middle stage. You'll manage that as you go along, and we'll discuss that later, because it's normal to resist change. These are human beings. People don't like changing. Imagine even now for COVID, when we were told to start washing our hands and wearing a mask everywhere. Until today, people are still resisting wearing masks. Until today, there are some who are not obeying the curfew rules. It is difficult, it's uncomfortable. We don't like changing. But it's something that must be done to be able to achieve a better end. And it's something you must continue to do as a manager or leader to evaluate this resistance. Who can I use as an influencer who has bought into this to influence others? It is not something you can put off as a fire, the first stage. It is, you have to deal with it. We will discuss that later, but it is normal. Change is not easy. But that's why the models are here, to help us to break it down and help us through.
Nancy, I see
a model. It's a roadmap. Yes.
Ellie?
Can I say something?
Yes, please.
Yes.
I think Sabila has spoken my heart out. I think for you, for Nancy, you see, you had the idea, and you are also a boss of your own, and you are a small institution, and therefore you went into what I call radicalness. But you see, for BTL, it is so difficult for a translator down to begin to change things, because there is protocol that we use in the organization. So Sabila has just spoken it all. But for COVID-19, for example, for us consultants, we used to travel to the teams. We had never thought that we could check books online, although we were doing some things, of course, online, because we have got some tools that we use for translation software. So we were still doing it. But unless COVID came, nobody in BTL could have imagined that consultants could check books online. And that is simply because COVID forced us. There is no management that told us, you guys, no more traveling to the field, no more going here. And even us, we could not say, why can't we go? Why are we putting this change in us? So I think what Sabila has said is exactly. But coming down to the institution, like what you have said about your model, I think for me, this is a model that we can use everywhere, even in our homes. But you see now, in an institution, people have served for 30 years, for example, and you are a new person coming. Like now, Nancy, you come to BTL and you say, you guys, can you do this? You know what I will say? Nancy, you are 2 weeks old here. I've been here for 30 years. So that's another thing that what Sabila has said is that for the change for the COVID one, there was nobody who would resist it. But if you want to bring something new, it will be like telling people who have been in a room for 5 years to open the window. If it is tough, they'll tell you, no, we shall get cold. Thank you.
Thank you. So what I'm hearing is that the same thing I'm saying is uncomfortable to change. Change is difficult to sell a change. It is true. All those things are things you're foreseeing, and they must be foreseen by managers. They'll be resistant to change. There's some who've been there for a long time, and you have to manage this change, because for you must believe and tell them, I know you've been here for 30 years, you've been doing the same thing, but for us to survive, for you to continue having a job, for us to continue as BTL growing and serving our clients, this needs to be done, so we have to make adjustments. It's about making adjustments. They're uncomfortable, but it can be done. It will take time and effort, and that is why we need to keep thinking about how can we, who do we know who can be able to influence somebody else? We'll discuss as we go along. To make it easier, let's do some work and see how this can apply in our situation at BTL.
Nancy, can we get a reaction from Edward first? I see his hand is up.
Okay, Edward?
Edward,
Yes. For me, as they said, there are some areas where BTL is actually moving towards what we are calling the proactive change. And of course, any change meets resistance, but also when it's a good change, things move. For example, if we can think about, I've been BTL for a number of years, and previously we used to be, even our ways of receiving petty cash for expenditures at the project levels, it was different, and today is different. That is a kind of a change that was actually planned. And two, when our management thinks of where shall BTL be in the next few years and what shall we be doing, because looking at our tasks in Kenya, it's like we are winding up. We are already finishing our tasks in Kenya. Now, should we stay and close the doors? But when you look at what the management has done, they have thought of the proactive change, planned change. And we came up with the Beyond Kenya initiative. This is part of a planned and a deliberate change, because we shall continue to move now. We shall continue to be BTL, but now we are moving beyond borders. So yes, there are some things that are difficult, but the way I can measure myself, BKI, which is the Beyond Kenya initiative, we are somewhere between stage 1 and stage 2. We are almost moving towards stage 2 now, because in the next few years, the way I see BTL, we shall not be doing things the way we are doing today. And that's why when I look at even the strategic plan, it was geared towards that strategic plan that was launched a few years ago. It is towards that. So this is the one that I can say is the proactive change. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I see also Carol's hand is up. Carol, you have a reaction?
Okay, I wanted to say, just in agreement to what some of my colleagues have said, and yes, somebody else alluded earlier, that BTL has been proactive in many areas. One of the areas for a long time, Bible translation was taking almost 20, 30 years. Right now, we are taking about 7 to 10 years. We have really reduced that by training our own local consultants and really investing in technology, but also the issue of local resourcing, because we want to try and limit depending on external donor funding as much as possible. And again, now looking at investing in businesses and seeing how can we raise funds more locally. So I think in several areas, BTL has really, been looking forward to, to be proactive in trying to change the way we've been doing things in the past so that we can be more efficient. But also I wanted to ask, with change, there's also investment that is required in terms of resources. I hope maybe it will be addressed somewhere, because change is good, but it also requires some investment. And it's good to also think about that as well. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yes, thank you. For the investment and resources you require, it's part of the moving or stage 2. Yeah. So as you plan for that, you plan at the unfreezing part and say, what do we need? We need people, we need capital, we need equipment, technology. So you start planning and then you start releasing them at the moving stage. Skills, capital, HR, whatever it is you require. This is now the top who will release it. They have to have it ready, because unless you have this, there will be no change. They must support the change in that element of resources.
Nancy, we just have one question on the chat box from Justus is asking, in my own opinion, is that after reactive change, especially for COVID-19 goes away, people are likely to revert back to their old ways. Should we as an organization be deliberate to create new and permanent structures? Especially when we know the change is a bit temporary.
Mugabe, lazima tunataka tubaki na masks.
That's for you to that's for you to know, because with COVID, a lot of things will, and in most, what I'm hearing from most people, some things that you're doing now that you have frozen will remain.
Yeah.
Because a change will always create, it's a change, okay? And like for us, like me as a trainer, I'm seeing like I'll be having a hybrid kind of training. I'll be having face-to-face when things are okay and this kind of training. So it's up to you to say what will remain, what structures, what behaviors, what things have we seen that will have been benefiting us should stay and what should go and what can remain. So those are things you look at and review at the refreezing stage.
All right.
Anything else? Anybody else?
No, just a lot of comments on the chat box, which I believe all of us are able to see. We can move to the assignment.
Okay. All right. So I want to also have some more group work for us to see and understand how this can work for us, the 11 3-step model. And let's just evaluate and see where we are in this. So I think in groups of the numbers that you'll be given by Purity, you want to analyze and see what areas in the pastel are giving us a trigger for change in BTL for yourself, your departments or the company. Identify what element in the pastel has triggered a change in the environment. And then you want to adapt a 3-step model to illustrate how we are going to model our change, how we're going to react to our change based on the 3-step model. Yeah. So in groups of how many, Purity?
Groups of 5. They should be about 9 to 10 people approximately.
So you can use an earlier different change we had before, a different in the last 1 year, or current element of change you discuss that after we finish. About 15 or so minutes to be enough, Purity?
Sorry, come again?
Is it going to be enough time? 15 minutes, because time is gone.
All right, let's try at 15 minutes. I've already shared the group work on the chat box.
Okay.
With the example that Nancy had shared with us. So you can just download it to your laptop or your phone just to have a guidance on what is expected.
Do they have this model? Do they have this?
The group work?
Do they have the 11th model, the 3 stages? This slide I'm showing now.
Yes, it's there.
Okay.
All right.
To guide them, to guide, yes, yeah.
Okay.
So let's do that. Then you can present in about 5 or so minutes when they come back.
Yes.
You can have a group later. And then let's see what has come through.
All right. So it's already 10 minutes past 9 a.m. So we'll be back at 9:25. So just break out into your rooms. Just download the document. It has the example, the Lewin's model itself, and then what is expected of you from the assignment. So see you in 15 minutes.
But I hope it's clear.
Yes. Is that okay?
Nafikiri ni sawa.
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay,
Sawa
thank you.
kabisa.
All right.
The rooms are
all the best. Looking forward.
So you can just join the different rooms. Please join the rooms. Please join the rooms, the different rooms.
Iko sawa hivyo.
Ama good ataongea mingi.
Sawa. So now I think we can proceed.
Yeah, okay. Sawa. Bas, Abraham, tuongoza haraka. Unajua hapa inashanga haraka hii mtu.
Okay, sawa. And curious, you are here, you should make sure it is 15 minutes, not like last time. Now, we have the question. We have the question with us, huh? Which
ile kitu tulidownload hiyo. Sijui unajua iko kwa desktop hapa wacha niweke.
Oh, let me see.
There was like a big thing.
Yeah. Let me. Am I able to share?
You can share it. Yeah, I think that's better. Just open in your name, then you share.
Can you see each other as we discuss?
Yes. You're saying?
Can you see each other as we discuss?
Oh, we want to see each other. Okay.
Yes.
You can turn on your videos. Yeah.
Viketi have shared.
Oh, good. That's fine.
Good, Jackson. Very proactive. Come
yeah,
on,
so we move to the question. Jackson, you can read the question to us. I hope you can all see, but you can just read so that we understand.
Yes. The question is, using the pastel analysis, identify the element of the pastel that is responsible for the change in the external environment of the organization. That's the first question. The second one is using the Lewin's three-step change model, illustrate the change strategy that the organization chooses to adopt.
Yeah, I think it is basing on the pastel model or the pastel analysis, which we've been taken through. We understand what it is. Now we need to do what? To identify
technological change to then do things differently. Look at paratext. In the past, people are not using when people are not using paratext, you needed to. It was very different from what is happening today. Today, people can see what a translator is doing. Even a consultant who is all the way in Nairobi or wherever, on a daily basis when you do the send and receive, so that you're even able to monitor what is happening, help these people. So I would say even in terms of pastel, technological change has also enabled us or is forcing us to change the way we done things in the past.
So we focus on technology. We pick that as the aspect for change.
I don't know whether we were to pick one or two. Or...
Yes.
Are we to pick one, Jacob?
Just pick that one because we may not be able to discuss. Yeah, we don't have much time. We can just pick one and maybe see the different aspects that the technology has affected our change processes.
So in terms of the unfreezing section.
Okay.
I don't know whether am I.
Yes, you are clear actually.
Yes.
Daisy, your hand was up.
Yeah. Kenya, I think that is what affects BTL. Even on the global scene, because we rely on foreign donors, even the economy in the world generally affects us.
Yeah.
Okay. Daisy?
Yeah, for me, I think when Damaris mentioned about the environment, the COVID, changing how we operate, especially.
Looking to growing our kingdom businesses, the Tafsiri businesses. I think that economically, that's what is going to give us a self-sufficiency going into the future. We cannot continue to depend on what has been coming from the outside.
Yeah, thank you. So, Zaka, it's economic, and the issue of depending on donor funding, how we've moved on is to put in more effort in our local income generating ventures. Yeah,
And
so we've
then,
done.
I think we have put effort on our local generating income activities, but we need now the kind of
protocol changes in getting permissions.
Yeah, and also the change in the stakeholders.
Stakeholders.
Mm-hmm.
There is also overhaul of curriculum, and that affects educational products, books.
Yes. Yeah.
And those changes have affected our way of doing things, especially in the GRACE department of literacy and early childhood education. And I think it's affecting almost all the sectors in literacy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So ideally, Okumu, what you're trying to explain now, talking of the content, what is in the books, that's another issue. That's a different issue because that's a change in the curriculum. It's not necessarily because of the devolution.
Oh, okay.
So that's a second issue.
Which is it a change in curriculum? Is a policy issue?
It's a policy issue, yeah.
Yeah.
But the one we were discussing is the devolution and how it's affected us. Yeah. So now how to refreeze, we were calling it to refreeze after we have unfrozen. Now we have talked of how the change has affected us. So how do we respond to that change? We have to re-strategize even the way we write our proposals. And who we target. I mean, who do we give the proposal to? We have to be, if we want to do anything in preschool, we really have to lobby or do a lot of advocacy with the county governments. Because like if they have to support it, they have to factor that money in the county budgets. And you know the MCAs ndio kusema for counties. So you really have liars with the MCA so that they can pass those motions in their respective counties to be able to do that. Yeah.
So there's a lot of change in the way we organize workshops.
Yeah.
The way we do budgets. Who to be involved in the workshops, how we do invitations, and whom do we invite.
Yeah, who to target for funding at if we want if we want government funding.
Yes.
Yeah.
And how do you disseminate? Was it disseminate or? I mean, even communication, disseminate information.
Communications, like for example, if we want a workshop with the preschool teachers, we can no longer go to Ministry of Education officials if at all we are targeting preschool teachers. That will not hold. Their employer is the county government. So as you said, now we have to have different change the way we channel our communications and the people we get permissions from to implement our work. So instead, like if we had sorry guys, I hope I'm not talking too much. If we have one project to send in Pokomo, normally before devolution, we would have dealt with the same stakeholders from preschool to class 3. The whole project, we would have the same stakeholders. But now with devolution, we have to handle the grade 1 to 3, like it's almost a semi-autonomous one, and the early grade reading, like semi-autonomous again. Julius, did you come? I'm making sense?
Yes, I'm making sense. You're making sense.
Okay.
You're taking some notes, at least.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So let's open it to all of us. Please, you can contribute any field around what Grace has shared. What are some of the changes you see in your area or in your experience?
with the visual platform whereby consultant can do a check-in while using the visual platform.
Okay, virtual platform. Can we to hear from someone else? Dara, you have something to say? Amonge.
I think we are moving in the right direction. We've said almost everything.
Okay, Mildred. Okay, Stephen. Then Nganya. Nganya, can you weigh in?
Yes, sir.
I'm also thinking in the way there are also other things that we have changed in terms of involving all staff when it comes to, I mean, in the past we used to do a devotion in a small unit, a region, but now we are doing it with all staff. We are doing Bible study virtually. So we have changed, and I think we can go back to doing devotions in small groups. We'll always, in Bible study, we always do in big groups. Yeah. And also even the way we do performance management.
Oh yeah.
We used to do it on paper, but now it's on Google Drive. Somebody can see. So there are so many things, at least technology has helped us to leverage.
Your performance, Miss.
Pape, lead management.
Pape, you guys, Pape, yeah. Eli, I hope unashika hizo.
But then what we have now done very well.
Eli, weka Pape iko ya kwanza na useme Pape.
Unfreezing, unfreezing, moving and refreezing. Whether Gudo has gotten it very clearly. Gudo.
Yes, HR.
Gudo atajua kuji-explain.
Unaona Pape?
Pape, we were doing leave on paper. Tukafanyiwa training. Sasa we are on online.
Na sasa sahi hata ukijaribu ku-apply leave physically hauwezi. It is permanent. Hebu jaribu.
Okay.
Pape,
yeah.
In fact, you number one.
Good.
3 seconds. Twende turudi huko.
Welcome back. I was just saying very interesting conversations going on into the room. So I bet we'll want to hear what you've discussed. Starting from group 1. Group 1, are we back? Abraham, Dara, Eli, Fatma.
Yes. Eli Gudo must be back.
Yes. So it's your group's turn to present.
He's compiling his technological notes.
Now becoming a disadvantage then.
You mean I'm the person?
Who is your presenter?
Is it Eli Gudo?
It's Eli Gudo.
Oh,
the apostle.
A man from Magua.
He's from status quo. The canon.
Are you seeing my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so this is the most changed group. You will love it. You will love it. So anyway, I will give Mercy this chance to present this. She can see what we are saying.
Maybe one was presenting early.
I was doing notes, so because I want to change also the way we do things, I want to change management. So I've made notes. So Sabila and Mercy will share it very briefly.
All right. Mercy and Sabila.
So for us, we picked our change as technological change. what technology has done for where we have come from to the change to the things that we are rephrasing. So the scripture engagement material, we have advocacy. Those ones I think Kamwara will be better, will explain better on that. But for us, we are also talking about, we have ways that we have changed, especially in doing our events. We did, in the past, we used to do hard copies form, filling in the leave form, but now we've automated and we've gone digital. We are doing online leave management. We're also talking about how we changed to doing devotion. We used to do in small groups in our different regions, in Nairobi, in Rero, but now we are doing via Zoom for the whole organization. We were also doing, we were doing Bible studies also in small groups in our different regions, but now we are doing in via Zoom for the whole organization. And I don't think we are going to move from that. That is something that we are going to stick to moving forward. Yeah. So Sabina, you can continue.
Maybe I can chip in on advocacy where you were talking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Come on.
Here before we used to advertise ourselves through maybe posters and in groups, in barazas, but this time you can follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, and using the local radio stations and TVs. So we are moved actually from the old normal to the new norms. Okay.
Yeah.
I think my input is that we move to group 2. I think we've done justice to that aspect.
To that question.
And something else is
yes, to that question.
And something else is that BTL now has almost all projects having Wi-Fi, which is unlimited. You know, in the past we used to use these small things where we charge. So now people can work more, people can do more research using technology. They can check online, they can use internet for research. I think for me, that's a very big change we have done.
All right. Nancy, what's your reaction to that?
Thank you. This is group 1.
Yes.
Thank you, group 1, for the work you have done. Just one question. How did you support this change in the moving part of the stage of the model? What support did you provide in terms of resources?
Yes, like resources, Nani, my friend Eli Guda said, each project was facilitated to get modern equipment for connecting to the internet. Now, yeah, that one it was purchased. That was resourcing. Another thing, like the one that Mercy referred, and people were trained on how to do the PAPE, and yes, that was a support that was given, so that people are now able to do the online things or something like that. Even the performance review, there was a training to enable people to be able to work and do the performance training virtually or through the digital space. So I think there has been a number of things that even the, like policy on money transfer changing, yeah, that one had to be put into place to create a framework for enabling that aspect of using digital money or money transfer instead of the previous way in which money was being sent to projects. So yeah, so there has been a lot of processes to entrench or to move or to enable people move and adapt into the change. And just talking to people and advocacy, I think that's okay.
Okay, thank you. Any barriers you came across, any challenges in the moving stage of your change? Challenges you encountered, barriers?
Group 1?
There could have been, we might have faced some challenges, but since we overcame them, we may not exactly remember what they.
Okay.
But definitely there were some challenges along the way.
Yeah.
Resistance.
One of the challenges, Mas will bear me witness, is that a number of people took time to master the PAPay, and we had to do a lot of intervention. Some people had their accounts blocked and they could not be able to renew until it was reset from the HR. So the HR had to reset their password. So there are a lot of challenges. Technology is not easy. Yeah. So
yes, and also I think the challenge of working from home and working in offices full-time using technology. There were teams that didn't have electricity, which was reliable. And what BTL did was to install solar panels in almost those challenges like Rendile. So you work with Rendile now, you don't care about power going off. So that's how BTL dealt with it. They dealt with the technology of checking online, but there was no power which was reliable. So that to me was an excellent way of doing it.
Okay, that's great. Did the structure of anything change? Maybe your organogram, the structure, the way of reporting structures, anything like that change? At the freezing stage, did anything else like that change? Structure-wise?
Structure-wise, I can't remember. No. I think, yeah, that one.
No, it has not changed.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, only policies were adjusted some.
Policies, good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you, group one. Well done.
We move to group two.
Well, I'm keeping the status quo. So I'm not going to project like Ellie did.
That's okay.
In group two, we measured on technological change, and two departments really came out actually as having been affected by the technological change positively, and that is the language programs department and the finance. And yeah, so we looked at the dissatisfaction that was there when the translation was very slow because technology was not embraced then. And then we also looked at how finance was dealing with the issues to do with finance. Initially, they will do a lot of paperwork, and now they are more of software. We look at the dedication of Bibles. We used to have so many copies printed, and nowadays it's accompanied with either audio or the application on tablets and phones. Yes, something came up, says the finance will disperse money to projects using poster. And so you will spend money to go get money. Nowadays, M-Pesa has come in and that makes it really easier. So one does not need to travel to poster to get money. And then there's bank reconciliation. I've mentioned it, having been paperwork. Nowadays, there's just a software that Kakui can do it. Our payrolls are just prepared online. Kakui can do it at the comfort of his seat, and we are paid. Okay. Paratext is incorporated with a lot of resources. Then we also have a software called Logos, which is so useful for the translators. They don't need to have a whole library in the project. They just have it at a click of the button in the laptop or their computers, and they are okay to go. We have e-newsletters. Initially, we would print newsletters and have them dispersed to different parts of the country. But with people having emails, we just mail them the newsletter and they read it. Well, that is it about, so we had to, the defreezing part of it was being unsatisfied with the pace of translation and a lot of paperwork in finance. And then when we talk of moving forward, we have had trainings like Group 1 said, and the organization has had to buy laptops for the staffs and purchasing of the routers, Group 1 mentioned it. Then some of the consultants would not agree with the fact that change is here, and even groups, projects. So there was a bit of people not wanting to do online checking because, well, face-to-face was a thing of the day. And so that was an issue that came up. And then when it comes to change, we also look at the benefits that come with it. If it's not so much beneficial, then we will not go with it. So those are some of the issues that we raised. I have my Group 1 members with the able chair. There is something I have left out, you can mention.
Yes, something else that we talked about was the issue of nationalizing the consultants. When that came up, there was a bit of resistance from the international consultants. Some of them were feeling like getting African consultants might not serve us well. They felt like we needed to continue using the Western consultants, but then the management here almost kind of put their foot down and continued developing the local consultants, and that has enabled us to move our work even much, much faster.
Awesome. Nancy?
Thank you, Group 2. Again, I'm seeing here it's technological kind of changes going on again. How long did this take you, this entire change implementation? Group 2.
I think for different, it took different time frames, like the development of consultants takes time. So it's still an ongoing program. Consultants are being developed. I can say it has taken quite a long time since it was decided that we needed to nationalize the consultant process. But right now we are happy. We are using almost 70% of the consultants in our organization right now are locally found. But it has taken quite some time, close to over 10 years right now. If
10 years.
Yes.
And quite some resources.
And quite some resources.
Yes.
In terms of technological change, that is something that has been ongoing, though at a slow pace in some areas, in the area of translation, in the area of even finance, way before COVID. But when COVID came, I think it gave us that momentum to move speedily into ensuring that every project, whether wherever it's located, is able to be self-sufficient and able to be accessed and served by any kind of service. So it has been a long time thing, but it has been catalyzed by the COVID. So yes, there has been time, but still this has been catalyzed, and right now I think we are almost there because of what COVID has done.
All right.
So that was an unplanned change or a planned change. It was a planned change?
It was planned to begin with because every project and a way of accessing consultants out there. What was unplanned was the fact that we can only do virtual consultant checking without having to do any physical. That was unplanned. Nobody envisioned that a situation will come where a consultant will never have to travel from point A to point B. But we will do very little consultants, some basic things virtually, and then the consultant will travel and meet, or the team would travel to come and meet the consultants. But when COVID came, we were all forced now to work from wherever we are. So I can't say it was really unplanned. It was planned. There was a bit of planning, but we were not very willing to transit completely, to transit. When COVID came, then we were all forced to transit. And
the equilibrium was attained out of COVID.
Okay.
The forces of change. Yeah, it was tipped over by COVID.
Thank you very much. Purity, do you have somebody else, the different pastel element apart from technology? Just one more to share. A different.
Maybe we just ask who else covered, which other group covered technology?
No, not technology, another one, a different one we can discuss.
Okay.
A different pastel.
Group 4 had their different ones.
Yeah.
Yes, please, group 4 then.
So I present for group 4, Purity.
Yes, please.
Okay, so for group 4, and you will allow me not to put on my video because of the nature of my network. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm Zaka, and we had a number of we picked from the pastel a number of items, like the technology, we had economic, we had social economic, and as well as the environmental factors. So with technology, I think other groups have touched on the consultant checking, which was manually done and then moved. I think I will not touch on that because it has already been exhausted. But we also had another aspect on technology, whereby for BTL, we used to rely on clients to come to our offices and order their items But now we realize that we have the internet. We realize that also the market the market has changed, and people nowadays like to do business online. So we picked on, we utilized on the idea that we have the internet, and we can also utilize utilize this chance. So we have put forth our businesses online, where clients can just log in and also order their items, and then they are delivered through possibly Wells Fargo and other ways of transporting the items to where our clients are. And I think this has really worked well with the businesses of Tafsiri and other ventures like the CICC, Ruiru, they are utilizing on this. So I think this is one of the areas where we were forced by the market changes to enhance our way of delivering services to our clients. So with the legal, we also had legal area, and we realized that, I think this had been mentioned in the group discussion, where we had the curriculum change from the old curriculum to the new curriculum called CBC. In BTL, we have a project called Mother Tongue Education, and this Mother Tongue Education is where we develop materials in indigenous languages. Materials for in indigenous languages. So it is, I think we are the only organization who are interested with the indigenous languages. And with the change of the curriculum, we had already developed some materials in the old syllabus, but since we realized that we have a change in the curriculum and all the materials to be used in schools had to be vetted and to be listed in the orange books, then we thought we cannot continue competing or continue with the programs unless we change the materials. So we decided to review the materials,
And as we speak now, we have managed to review all the materials, and the materials have been accepted in the classrooms. So I think this is one of the unfreezing points moving forward, and also freezing. Yeah, and out of that, we have also been recognized nationally by Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development. They have also came forth and requested our consultants to just go and check their materials. And I think out of the change, or out of the unfreezing, moving and freezing, then we have also acquired some cash inflow. With the economic, we realized that our inflows from donors have really reduced. And I think you can bear with us that the donors nowadays don't contribute so much to the development of the third world countries. And out of that, we thought, the management thought on ways on how they can engage the local the local resources to generate local income. And we went forth and developed a whole department in the, it's called, I think it's called development. I'm not sure of the department, but there is a whole team of guys who are doing a good work in enhancing
strategic investment department. Strategic investment department, SID.
Yes, it's actually strategic strategic development department, where they have put in ventures like the Tafsiri venture. We have also people who are thinking ahead on how we can develop our businesses to create income for our organization. And I think out of the money that we get from these local generating activities have been utilized to help in the consultant checking, development of materials, printing of Bibles, and reselling these Bibles again to get some income. And I think that is one of the economic factors that triggered our organization to move forward. Also, we had the socio-economic, like we used to have the Department of Church Relations at the national level, but since there was a creation of the county governments and the county governments, we realized we also need to devolve our systems to reach out to the locals who are not able to come to Nairobi. So we created regional church relations departments, and we put forth personnel who are in charge of those departments at the regional levels. And out of that, we have managed to reach out to more people at the local level. And BTL, as we speak now, is known everywhere in Kenya. We used to have the run at Nairobi, but now out of the creation of these regional departments, we started run in Eldoret. And I think there are talks to also have a run at the coast. And I think these are some of the things that have really helped us to be known, also to speak to our local partners, to speak to local governments. And I think out of this, we will have a link. We have good partnerships with the local local governments. We have also the environmental factor, like we have the sporadic floods that come from, in parts of our projects, like the Tana River projects, they are affected by floods and drought. So we gave an example of a team which was moved from Lamu to Kilifi, to work from Kilifi at the coast because of some environmental changes in the working environment. Also, some teams in the northeastern part of Kenya, like when we have circumcision, which is done at the community level, these guys have to stop work so that they can give way for the ritual rites to go on fast and then move ahead. So I think these are some of the changes that we have embraced for us to attain our goal. Thank you, Purity.
All right, thank you so much. Zaka?
Maybe if I have forgotten anything from my team, they can add, led by Weche, the team leader.
Were we all given 15 minutes, including this team?
You have done well. You have done well.
You've done very well. It's very detailed.
You have presented for all the groups, like 5 groups.
Yeah, and I think
30 minutes. 30 minutes.
Yes, thank you very much. I think you've all done very well, and I think you're appreciating the model and the flow. It's just now adding up to see what other elements you can add in your model, in terms of having a team that can foresee the change, evaluating, monitoring, and even looking at what has been frozen as a new way of life, a new way of working, and what has gone. So I think you've all agreed that yes, this model can work. It can work even for a bigger change that might come. Even things like acquisition and mergers. Those are the kind of things that normally come in, and leadership have to think about which way to go. And they can pick on a model like the 3-stage model and apply it. It works very, very well.
Yes.
So thank you. Somebody was talking, or is it? Maybe not. All right, so good, well done. So I think those who could not present this time, please have some time among each other and share with each other.
I think group 3 wants to present. Group 3, just as.
Present or they want to repeat?
Is it different from what has been presented?
They want to repeat.
Yes, is it different?
Is it different from what already has been presented, group 3 and group 5? I know you two have not presented.
I think we have a slightly different approach. So
all right.
I feel we need to present.
All right, let's bear with group 3. Group 3, please.
Okay.
Okay, I would like to share the screen, please. Somebody share and share.
Group 3.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right. So in group 3, we answered the question, identify the element in pastel responsible for change. We read in group 3 that the element that is responsible for change, the driving force, is actually the environmental element of pastel. And in this case, we selected COVID-19 to be the main cause of change. Can you see here?
Yes.
Yes. So unlike other groups where you're saying technology is the main element of bringing change, we thought that technology is just a response for a trigger, and that trigger is the environmental factor COVID-19. So for us, we thought that technology is just being used. We are harnessing technology to respond to the challenge that we have. You understand why we think differently from other groups?
Yeah.
Yes. So after identifying our element, we subjected it to 3-step model, Lewin's model. And in this Lewin's model, the first thing you realize is that the first is unfreezing. So we picked on one element because we thought that every thing that may cause change will be handled differently. So I hope you can see my blue line there. We picked on meetings because each challenge will require a tailor-made strategy response. So we picked one. We did not do so many things, unlike many other groups. So the first step is unfreezing. What is that is creating dissatisfaction with the status quo. And we thought it is that our work will be negatively affected. And our work will be affected, and we don't want that to be the case. So what did we do? We diagnosed internal barriers within the organization. What are the internal barriers? COVID-19 social distancing protocol has kept the staff far apart. You know, when you social distance, we can't meet, we can't hold the travels and all that. As a major barrier, and we addressed that barrier, did our analysis and addressed the barrier by introducing technology. So technology has been used in various meetings like dedications, like we can now use mobile apps to distribute scripture in projects. We can also hold meetings, Zoom meetings, that is the use of technology. And now we've moved to step 2. You know, most of the groups did not subject this. Okay, I'm not marking the work, but I'm saying
because you are repeating.
How are we moving? We are moving by reorganizing the way we do our business. Okay, let's repeat because many groups have already shared. And then finally, it's the third stage. This is stage 3, not stage. Yeah, stage 3 is refreezing. Sorry. In this case, we are re-engineering control systems. And my thinking is that BTL has not really developed policies, formal policies that can monitor all the work that we do. But in the short term, project officers and ALPMs are monitoring the work well online or via technology, though no formal policy shake-up has really taken place. So that is our presentation in group 3. And I would like to invite other members of the group to add something if needed.
Awesome. Any reactions for group 3? Nancy, what do you think?
That's excellent work. They have gone through the entire flow of the model. They took their time to break it down the way it should. And that's why it's been easy for them to even identify some elements of the stages. Well done, group 5 there.
Group 3.
Group 3.
All right.
Following it. I have nothing to ask. It's very well done.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Group 5, is anything different for you? And I see also Cyrus, his hand is up.
Yeah, quite different.
Yeah,
Quite
different.
You see, they are the only ones left out. So.
Nadia.
Group 5, where's group 5? So that we all live here satisfied we presented. Where's group 5?
We are here, we are here.
Yes, please.
So for us, we are taking the element of government as during the period of sorry.
We can't hear.
Julius, we can't hear you. Are you able to turn off your camera? We see if we can hear you better.
Now it's much better.
Yes, continue.
Great. I will present alongside the members of my group. But generally, what the angle we took was on governance. As you know, the new constitution affected the reorganization of the government so that we have the county government and the national government. Now, it affected the literacy programs, the way the literacy program is being done, and especially when you look at it in terms of lobbying. Previously, in the kindergarten section, was being run by the national government, but it was devolved. So that if you were to take the literacy program to the kindergarten classes, then you have got to talk to a different set of groups of people. Previously, we used to talk to the educationalists, I mean the teachers, the education officers and people like that. But right now, because of the evolution, we lobby through the MCAs and the political class. I think Grace may want to add some one or two things.
Grace?
Sorry, I think Julius has brought out the major point. We are saying that for us initially, it was very easy to run. It was quite easier to implement education projects in our community areas because we would take it all as one piece. If we want to implement a literacy program for children from preschool all the way to grade 3, for mother tongue education, then we would have one proposal and use the same stakeholders to implement that. But after devolution now, we had to re-strategize and break that into 2 because grade 1 to 3 basic education from grade 1 is handled by the national government, whereas the preschool education is a preserve of the county governments. So that now made us rethink the kind of stakeholders we need. And one of the challenges we noted is that unlike the first, initially when all the educationalists would really easily understand the importance of mother tongue, now we have this other group of people who are more inclined to politics, and we really have to invest a lot in advocacy. So we are still there. We are moving slower than before. So that for us is a change. We are managing that change. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Group 5, any more inputs? Okay, then Nancy, any reaction for group 5?
It's well covered. With most of the key elements have been covered well, and they're very well understood. And no question.
All right. It's already 10 minutes, 5 minutes past 10 a.m. Will you give us about 15 more minutes? We wind up on this topic.
Is that okay?
Yeah. That's okay?
Yes.
All right, thank you so much. Nancy, let's wind up in about 15 minutes.
Okay. So thank you, and I think we are now appreciating that we can actually apply the 3-step model to our change visions, and I've seen that you're able to understand and to have the flow of the whole model. So I wish you well as you continue the model application. So I just want to paint a few things as we finish the topic on change management. That earlier I talked about at the beginning of the first stage, the unfreeze. As you share your message, as you share your change vision, you will understand that some people who will be very, very quick to adapt, who will catch it very easily. And those are the ones you need to pick very quickly. They'll help you as change champions or change influencers. They'll help you be able to communicate with other people and influence them and model them to adapt to this change, because as we said earlier, people resist change, not because they don't, but because it's uncomfortable. So those who are there, you find them, understand that they are there and pick them quickly. And these are people you can use to help you. It's voluntary, sometimes you can select them, and they help you at every stage of the change model. And it's good to have something like for them an incentive that you can give them, because it's easier for them to help you on the lower ground level of somebody who is far away from you in the structure or in distance to influence a change for you. But now, what's your role as a manager or a leader in the change management process? The first thing here is to articulate an urgency for change. Why are we changing? In the first stage of the unfreezing, this is the first thing. Why are we changing? Reasons, show us facts. Why must we change? Why is it good for the company and for us? Then secondly, you must select a committee or a team that can spearhead the change, who can gather data, who can get industry information, who can be informing you on the new updates, because as a leader, you don't want to be doing everything. It's good to have a team from every section to adapt to the change. And then also, it's good to develop a change vision, to communicate easily. This is where we are as we are now, but as the change happens, this is where we are going to be when we acquire that business, when we change in our terms of communication in technology, is what we want to achieve. So make it attractive for them to see and see how it would affect positively the way they work. And fourthly, is continuous communication. You must continue to inform and update them every time, and also listen. Listen for the responses. Communicating is two ways. Listen, update, understand, and then you can pick out, is it a resistance? Is it lack of information? Or do they just require updates every now and then, which they do? And also you're trying to reduce the obstacles that you come across in terms of resistance, in terms of the structure, the culture, remove whatever is going to act as a barrier to your change, to make it easier for them to move. And something else very clear here is role modeling. As a leader, you must walk the talk. If we say we'll stop doing this, stop doing it. If we'll start doing this, start doing it. So modeling is very, because they're watching you. As you say we are doing, are you doing it? You also must motivate, encourage people, reward those who have done well, those who are showing effort in putting the change, implementing it properly. Motivate them by encouraging them and also rewarding them in whatever way you can do. And also, because there are risks to take in change, do not fear. If you agree we are going to go this way, you take that step and take the risk. Do not be very careful. Unless you take that risk, you don't know that you're in a better place. Like how those animals cross the Mara. They know their risk there, they're members, but you must be bold as a leader. And then also, you must develop a plan for managing your resistance to change, because people will always resist change. It's going to be there. Anticipate and plan for it, because unless you do it early enough, it will become overwhelming. And provide for whatever is required as resources in terms of capital, technology, human expertise. Whatever is required, you must prepare to give it in. Because unless you do it, there's nothing will change. You can talk and prepare people's minds and all, but unless you do it, it will not happen, okay? Now, our last topic is about managing resistance to change, because we said earlier, this is going to happen. Do not fear resistance. It is normal. It will happen because these are human beings and they are changing from what they have done for 30 years, 20 years, the way they have what they have been using as tools. So expect this and plan well for it, okay? So anticipate it will happen. So for you, you want to make this very, very, very easy for them to adapt. So communicating is always going to be done continuously. It's going to happen at the management level, at the lower level, so expect that. But why do they resist? Why do people resist change? We can summarize in very, very few points and say here, the first thing, of course, is called the parochial self-interest. They're looking after their own interest, you know, my position, my influence, my income, you know, will I lose my job? Will I change the way I work? Will I have to work with different people? So it's about the self, and that's the first thing, and it's normal. You know, me, myself, we are human beings and we are selfish. That's the first reason why they change, they're resistant to change. Number two is understanding in terms of communication. Yeah, it was not well communicated at the beginning. The vision didn't come out very, very well while we are changing, or adding information given earlier. So the I don't want to do this thing. Why? What? So that could be a reason why they are resistant to change. Understand the reason for change. Thirdly is a natural thing called the low range. We are all different. There are people who are others to change. They feel insecure. They can't. Nature, it's a character. They take a long time to accept. Then fourthly, they assess the change differently. They have different opinions, yeah? Disagree because of their opinions of how maybe they see themselves, how the past was. So all those different conflicting opinions will always bring resistance. Now, there are two types of resistance to change, and I'll go talk about them very, very quickly. The first one is called the systemic change, systemic resistance. This is where the system resists the change. It's not about the people, it's about the systems you have in place. For example, if you had planned to have a budget money to release to the people who are doing the change, and the money is not available at the right time, or the right quantity, or it's not there at all, you delay the change. If you say we're buying computers and they're not there, that's systemic resistance. If you say we are training people in this area and you don't train, then that is also systemic. It's about the system. So things are not happening at the right time or adequately or at all. People are ready for the change. You have done the structure, the files have been done, everything is, but there's nothing you're giving. There's no support. And this is mainly for the leadership are the ones who cause this resistance. They're not able to support the change, but they want it. So as leaders, this is up to you. Prepare, agree to what you're going to give as a resource, and provide at the right time so the change can happen concurrently, can happen at a good time. Number 2 is about behavioral resistance. This is about the people now, the employees, the managers. It happens across the entire organization. These, of course, are the passive or negative reactions, the attitudes of people. And you can have them in 4 different behaviors. I'll discuss them very, very quickly. Now, you'll find as a manager, people are exhibiting about 4 of these behaviors. And the first one that is very common is called the disengagement behavior. Somebody is withdrawn in the entire change process. They are there in physical, but they're not there mentally, okay? They do things, very, very mechanical. They are told, do this, okay, what are we doing next? They're not engaging with you, giving feedback, or they look like they're interested. So for you as a manager here, once you see this behavior, how you can help them is, first of all, of course, have empathy, understand them, and then draw them away and ask them questions, understand why they're behaving like this. Why are you withdrawn? Is there an issue, Is there clarity you require of information, or understanding the vision of what we are doing and what your role is? So clarify all that and let them speak and give what is in their heart, Why am I disengaged? Why am I have no interest? What is it? So address that as you see it, and address it very, very quickly. Don't take too much time addressing these behaviors. Another behavior you see is called where somebody feels like a threat to their position, the way they are. If you are a head of department or a section, now you're being told you work with a different team called this, and now you're like number 2 or 3, they feel a threat. Or they feel a threat to the way they used to work before. They used to work like this, do this. So they want to cling to the past and just keep saying this, like, before we were doing it like this, before you were better. So those kind of things will tell you somebody has this kind of behavior. And how do you manage that behavior? Again, empathy is the first thing, understand, and also try and involve them in the change implementation. Let them have a role, because they want to feel relevant. They want to feel they were somebody and they're still somebody. Participate them, involve them, ask them for their view. So that way they will feel they are part of this change and their role is not completely lost. They have a place to be. A third behavior here we call disenchantment. This is the one that's most toxic. It's very negative. It's based on anger. It's very contagious. And they make loud remarks and negative remarks, and even rally support around them and say, this thing will work, it can't happen. Why are they behaving like this? And it's mostly verbal and very negative and very, very toxic. This one must be addressed separately, because what you have to do here is put that entire group or that person aside completely from the others. And let them first calm down. Let them just, tell them, look, we want to talk about this thing. Let's just calm down first, because it's about anger. And understand what are the issues. Is it the change? Understanding your situation? You're just negative? Or are there underlying reasons why you're not happy about this change? Why are you so angry? What's the anger about? And they will tell you. So here, for every behavior, listen more, because there are some things that maybe were not addressed earlier. And this is not the last straw that came in, and everything is now off. So put them aside, let them calm down, empathetic, of course, as a leader, and let them just talk, and then address everything one by one. But normally in this category, we always say, there's always somebody who will not at all, no matter what you do for them, they will not accept it, and it must be addressed separately to the HR office, because you're doing all you can to bring them on board, answering their questions, answering their issues. They may be taken at a different category. We'll discuss that later. Then fourthly, exploitation behavior, a very common one. Somebody just looks confused and lost, and they have plenty of ambiguity. They're not sure where they belong or what's going on. And they ask things like, so what is going on now? What are we doing next? What did they say we do? They are just not in there. They are somewhere floating around, knowing and not knowing. They can't see where they fit in. So this behavior can help them by maybe trying to communicate for them and tell them, look, this is where we want to go, what you want to be. You should be doing this now, and it's good for you because of this. So try and make them see the picture, the vision, the big picture of the change, what will happen, and the best thing about it. they can come down to earth and be part of the change. So these 4 behaviors will be there as you look at the result to change, address them as they are, and as a leader, the first thing we say, please be empathetic, okay? We're all different. We all take things at different levels, understand things, and continuously communicate, address, and look out for these behaviors. And as you go along from stage 1 to 3, they'll be there. Even to the end of refreezing, they will be there. So address them. Okay, but how do you now manage all these elements, the behaviors and all? Firstly, I'll say, as I said earlier, about communicating and educating them, reinforce the message, prepare it simply, very simple language, simple format for all to understand, even if it means in Swahili, make it easy for them to understand what is the change about, why and where, what should they be doing. It's the first and the last thing. Number 2, you can involve some people, they have to be involved, they want to be involved, they want to be relevant, involve them, give them some roles. They want to feel a part of it, give them some roles to play a part in the change. Number 3, you must support, okay? Facilitate supporting, adjust the problems where they are, provide for various areas, and just continue support and facilitate whatever they require to know and understand. If they require more training, more counseling, more coaching, support those elements that might be causing the resistance to change. Number 4, we have to have negotiations, exchange something for value. This is now where things are getting very, very difficult. You have tried number 1, 2, and 3. It's not working. You can apply number 4, 5, and 6. Say, we are trying to head in this direction. If you do this, then maybe we can look at these other areas where we have been having an issue, negotiation, an agreement. You also have to manipulate some people and twist things around and get the cooperation and buy-ins, because some people will not see it, but you need them to be in the change. Negotiating, manipulating are not very, very bad things, even coercion, where need be. But sometimes, even having done the 3, 4, and 5, there are people who don't want to at all see the change, they don't want to be part of it. You may think about a different way. And companies I know have said, fine, if you don't want to be with us, we have done all we can. And I think it's time for you to say goodbye. I mean, it can come to that. It's very sad, but it does come to that, because you need everybody on board. Because that one person can be an obstruction for all the other people. Now, lastly, what's the impact of poor change management? What are the effects? Or what are the losses here? The first one is financial loss. Don't forget you're investing in capital, investing in people, investing in HR, you're employing new people, you're putting them on training courses. That can be a negative thing you have lost if you don't manage the change very well. Number 2, it reduces your productivity, output, performance, because you have not been able to achieve your change vision. You lose out what you have planned to achieve, if there was growth or revenue or new markets, those may not be achieved as you had planned. Thirdly, you'll find poor quality work has been achieved, poor outcomes from what you had planned because of low employee input or low employee involvement, or something did not go very well somewhere, so you don't have the right output that as you had planned together or going to work output. You also lose time. You have spent so much time planning, engaging people, Time lost is very expensive. It's more than even financial losses. You've lost time in planning, in training, communicating, laying out the structure. All that 6 months, 1 year has gone down the drain. You also have reduced the staff retention, because there are staff who are prepared for this change and it's not happening, or they're not very, very well managed in this change. So they will go. Some will say, this thing is not happening very, very well. I can't see my future here. Let me just go. And you can lose very good people in this element. And then also you have low employee motivation to continue, with the change or to even work. Low morale. It's not going very, very well. You can't see where you're heading. It's not well managed. And then lastly, you miss a chance to change. You had seen a very good gap. It didn't go very, very well. And that is gone. Time has lapsed and it's too late. And the change will not make a difference now. It's too late. You have lost a lot. Sorry, I had to rush the last part because of time, but I hope you have all been able to pick something from the entire discussion. I have come to the end of it. So I want to welcome any questions or inputs, concerns. I wish you had more time to discuss more It's a very wide topic, but you can't cover it beyond now. Another time, maybe we can have something different.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Yes, there's something that one of us has raised on the chat, but which was also something that was on my mind. I know,
yes.
Of course, I know the topic is change and change management.
Yes.
Which is, this may look like almost going out of topic by discussing or highlighting on situations where it may be legitimate, it may be valid to resist change, because not all change is always positive or will always bring about a positive result. Of course, there is that aspect that you have just concluded with of poor change management, which can bring negative effects, even though the intention was right. But we must give, I think, a caveat, a kind of caution that there are times when it may be right, it may be legitimate, it may be justified to resist change, because, yes, I think, yeah, I don't know, but that is what I wanted to communicate. I don't know whether, maybe you can speak to that. It could be my own misconception of the whole idea. Yes.
If I'm getting you correctly, you're trying to justify your resistance to change, justify it to the leadership that it's not good, something like that?
Yeah, even there's a time when leadership can lead in terms of refusing a change. You see, change may not necessarily be internal, it can even be external. Like, I know there have been even like, let me give an example, within BTL or within our world of work, there are some things that come up, maybe way of doing things or something like that, and you see that it demands of change, and you have to evaluate and you have to see whether it is necessary. And you see, there's a time even when you can, as an organization, resist change. I can give an example of something that came up in terms of a way of translating. It was called must. Yeah, must. And in a way, at the end of the day, as an organization, I think we took a position and said, this is a change that, of course, we tried to change because it's something that has come up. There are people who are justifying it. People say this is the way the world is going and that kind of thing. But you reach a point where you have to evaluate the change and see whether it is necessary, it is legitimate, it will kind of bring. So there's a time when you might even be forced, either on an individual basis, position or as an organization, to say, I think the older way is still better or can still serve us in the meantime. So there are those kind of situations where, yeah, I don't know. I think, sorry.
Okay. I think all I can say for now is that at the very beginning of the change, you have to be able to look at your change vision, yeah? Why are we changing, and it's what is causing us to change, for example, So what is this status quo that has been going on that is not relevant, that is not productive, is not giving you any more leeway, that is going to cause you to either close or not serve your customers well? There has to be very, very clearly defined reason for change, isn't it? The top. Yeah, the ones who are scanning the environment and seeing where we are.
Yes,
now.
I think if you let me weigh in a bit, what Kakui and Ngania are alluding to is what I would call a negative change. The topic that we've been looking at this morning is on the positive side of things, the positive change, and which needs to be initiated, supported, and all through, of course, you meet resistance to change and the way to deal with it. I think that one we've dealt with it very well. But also, either leadership or management can introduce into an organization what we call negative change. A good example is where it's an organization is fearing off from its core values. And in this country, we've seen quite a number of Christian organizations that were basically Christian-based, formed to achieve a certain purpose, and their leadership or management, because of a number of reasons, one of it being economic, they fear off from that mandate and very quickly lose their core values. Should just staff members or board or whoever it is just sit and watch as the organization degenerates into something else? Or should actually somebody rise up to the occasion and say, we need to have a discussion here? I think that's what Kakuya and Ngani are asking.
Okay, it's clear now. Okay, understand you. I think it's about leadership. This is mainly on leadership. Yeah. The leadership is not steering the company in the vision and the mission and the purpose of the organization in detail.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Reason, you have all the right to come together as stakeholders in the organization who hold it very closely and call for a meeting. There's nothing wrong with that. Come together and say, we have seen this, is what is happening. This is our mission, what we're supposed to be doing. Our mandate is this, but we are looking and seeing this is happening. There's nothing wrong with that. But make it, it has to be very cordial. Have your agenda, call the meeting and voice out your issues, and then have a discussion. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, you encourage leadership. As a leader, you must listen to other people, What are the views? Because you cannot lead people who are not with you or who you're veering off from the mission that you had put in place as a leader. That is in order. But in terms of changing, it's a bit different because they are the ones communicating the change to you, but even you must give feedback also as you go along. Give feedback and your views, opinions, if you feel it's not the right way. That is in order.
Cyrus, you have something to add in?
Just a quick comment that the other thing that can make us feel secure in allowing change is to make change part of our practice in leadership. Because there is always changes that are, there's always the pestle in all the pestle, some of those factors are affecting us every now and then. And we should also allow changes at all levels, even at the project level. Those who are at the project, can they keep finding out what needs to change at that level? And that helps them to be more secure even when they feel there are bigger changes coming in. So I think what I was thinking about this one is that we need to have proactive changes more often, so that when you have reactive or where you are needed to have reactive change, you feel much secure.
That is true. Change is continuous. That is true. You're always scanning the environment and things are always going to change in a very short time, and you must always be alert and continue initiating change. It's not something like you do one time and you finish it. It's continuous.
Nancy, do you have a minute to take a question
Yes.
from Wilberforce? He's asking, what happens if the change violates some key moral values held by a particular organization?
It sounds like what the first question was.
Yes.
You can address that with the management, with the leadership. You can address them and tell them, I don't think this is the way we should be going because this is not the mandate or our culture, our core values. It's against all the principles. You address that with them. Again, here it's about the leadership. Yeah.
Totally.
Leading to their mission, to their vision.
All right. Eli, I'd seen your hand up.
Yes, I think I want to thank Nancy for the powerful presentation. I think
Thank
just to inform you people who are presenting, the benefit we have in BTL is that we have a national director who is allergic to being static. He's allergic to I don't know how to call it, staticity. How to call the a point where somebody is in, you are the same place. Peter is somebody who would not kill a proposal from any person. His office is ever open for everybody. So I think for me, that is one of the things that has brought so many transformations in BTL. 10 years ago, we had no water project. We had no print shop. There were so many things that were not there in BTL. in the last, I'm now 10 years old. This year I'm 10 years old in BTL. And when I came, I found a manager that was not so static, because I'm also very mobile in terms of my doing things. So I think for me, that is the benefit that BTL has had in the last 13 years or 12 years that I've been there. Because without that, it's like a head. The head turns where, the body turns where the head turns. So in Africa, I can tell you, if Uhuru wanted to jail people who are corrupt tomorrow, to jail them, he will do it. So for me, for us, I think we can only pray for our management team, because they are the people that I've seen very proactive to change. I think more than even to be honest, we resist change that they bring sometimes. So it is like people in, why are they doing this? We are used to this. So for that thing, I think it would be very good for the management of any institution to be pro-change. Otherwise, nobody else in an institution can bring change if the head doesn't want it. And that's the benefit that BTL has had. Thank you.
Thank you, Osam.
Thank you. Thank you, yeah.
I don't see any other hands up or any questions. Abraham, 30 seconds now. Yes,
A quick
Abraham.
one.
Yes.
What happens, I'm just thinking, what happens if the desired destination of change doesn't happen, when you get there, you realize it is not the canon that you are heading to. Do you default to where you are, or how do you go back, or you stop there and you start thinking, I don't know, just in case where you thought will be a good place to be, does not happen to be a good place to be.
PBI.
Okay. Good question. Again, it's all at the beginning, stage one. The leaders of those initiative change must be very, very clear about what they must do. They have consulted widely, they have seen the pastel, they have been convinced that this is a change the decrees require, and they have painted this very nice picture or have a change vision of what it should be. If something goes wrong there, they have not done the analysis well, or the data or the projections have not been done well with deep consulting and a lot of thought, then that will not go well. And also, in every step, we must evaluate and see, is this step working for us? Is this change helping us? What can we adjust? What can we revise or review to get a desired change? Because again, it's a risk, but it must be very clear at the very beginning. Why are we changing? What is the status quo that you want to remove, and what is stopping us from being to the place you want to be, from growing, from getting more customers? If that is not very, very clear, that is a result.
Yeah.
It must be very understood, reviewed, consulted through. It is the first thing you must be clear about as a leader. It's leadership here. It will be very, very sad having going all the way, and there's no reevaluating as you go along to see, are we on the right track? And we pause for a while and see something else, maybe. It is very tragic, but it can happen. But it begins on how it all began.
All right.
Thank you for that question.
Yes. Jeremiah, you had something to say as we now wind up?
Now, just giving an illustration of if you find yourself in the wrong canon, you just take a look at what the BBI was doing to redirect to a new canon.
Yeah. All right. All right, Nancy, are you done on your end so that you can close?
Yes, I am. And I just want to thank you very much. It's been nice engaging with you. You are dynamic people. You're very, very forward-looking. And I want to wish you well as you continue your change agendas.
Awesome. Thank you so much as well, Nancy, for your time, for your wisdom, our very detailed presentation. That is one thing I really like about Nancy. She goes all out. and I hope the team has been able to fetch from your well. So we come to a close now. I know time is really not on our side. But thank you for everyone who was able to log in this morning, being able to participate, just brainstorm around the issue of change management. And we're actually coming to a close of the entire program, which last night I was getting a bit worried. I was just thinking in my head, this whole week I've been using BTL as my milestone. I'm like, I'm having morning trainings, you know, so I'm wondering what will happen on Monday. But all things happen to those people who wait. So as we wait for more openings in terms of training for this organization and others, I'm very optimistic. On Friday, we have the final session, which will be very interesting around mental health, stress management, and handling workplace conflicts. Rosemary will be able to help us on that topic on Friday. So come excited, come happy to learn. Bring your questions with you. And now I hand it over to Catherine or Marcy of BTL. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Purity. And also thank you very much, Nancy. That was really a very insightful session and interactive and also very relevant to the current situation and very good to think about, because as you said earlier, the only thing that does not change is change. It is constant, it's there. So yeah, it's something that we always have to keep it at the top of our minds, even as we continue to serve as a ministry in BTL. And thank you also, each one of us, for your patience. Thank you for, I know we have overshot our time, but thanks for your patience and thank you for the engaging sessions and also your presentations and the questions that you've asked. I think it has really helped to enrich the sessions. So I really, truly want to appreciate each of us. And just to bring it to a close, I would wish to ask Leshao. I had seen you here. I hope you're still on the call. Leshao, are you there?
Yes, I'm there, Catherine.
Yes, please, if you can just close for us in prayer.
Okay, let's pray. Our Heavenly Father, we are thankful for the much care that you have had upon us. We thank you for the way you have kept us alive, even up to this day. Thank you for the sessions that we have had together with our facilitators. We continually pray that, God, you are going to help us even to implement all these that we are learning so that we benefit our organization. Thank you for the way you have been with us. You have seen us through, even at this time that we are far apart from each other. We are not meeting frequently. And we also thank you for this technological ability that we are able to even have these sessions of training. And we want to pray, God, that you may help even the facilitators as they continue to impart whatever knowledge that they have in terms of leadership skills and all that. And I want to pray also for the organization of BTL, that you are going to help us do our work as required. I pray for the leadership. I pray for each and every individual in the different levels of this organization, that you may bless them. Thank you for the project level. There are those of us who are not in this meeting, Lord. I pray for them even as they continue with their work, wherever they are. You may bless them together with their families. And Lord, even for the last session that we are going to have on Friday, we pray for your blessings to be upon us. We pray that we will conclude this training, and we will be very grateful for the much you will have done for us. I pray all this, believing and trusting in Jesus' name.
Amen.
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 Thank you so much. There is the feedback form. The link is on the chat, but we will also share it on email. So kindly remember to give your feedback.
All right, thank you so much. Enjoy your day. It's Wednesday, so just enjoy your day. Enjoy tomorrow as well. Let's see you all on Friday. Thank you so much and good morning.